Hey y'all, welcome to our third Zoom success call. Today we're going to be discussing how to run for regional office. Before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, the leadership team, and some of the previous regional officers that we have. My name is Fadi Stelinides, and I am the regional president.
Georgia, Daniel, jump in.
Yeah.
My name is Daniel Gray. I'm District 3 VP, representing Alpha Omicron.
I am Georgia Palmer, the District 4 VP.
And we have Professor Linder, who is our regional coordinator. There's also Isaac, who is a previous regional officer, and George. Would y'all like to say a few words, or?
Just likes to be here again and just be on the other side of the process. That's what I'm gonna call it right now, the process.
The process. Very nice. Isaac was a former District 3 vice president. And George, do you have anything?
No, just hoping to share some words of wisdom with you all who are attending today.
Oh, I knew that.
Awesome.
And George was a District 5 vice president when he served.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with y'all. And let's open up this presentation. All right, so running for regional office. There are 6 positions, but depending on which district you are from, you can run for that specific VP position. So here there's a map of Texas with all the districts broken up. And if you need help knowing what district your chapter is from, you could probably reach out to your advisors and they'll let you know. All chapters from all districts can run for the Texas regional president position. Campaigning. First thing you need to do is fill out the application. But even before that, you should probably talk to your advisors and make sure that that your chapter wants to run, because in Texas, not one person runs for the position, it's the whole chapter. So it's a whole team effort. So make sure that you keep your advisors in the loop for that. If you were the representative from your chapter, you must attend one of the scheduled webinars that we're going to have, and we're going to talk about those more in a little bit. All the campaigning takes place at the Texas Regional Convention, and that will be on March 7th through the 9th. Also, campaign time will be designated in the convention program, so you are not allowed to campaign outside of those times. And whenever the agenda comes out for the regional convention, you know when you will be able to campaign. All chapters who are running have to present a 3-minute skit. Also, you could do a speech instead of that, but that's sort of discouraged from our RO team just because of how fun the skit is. It could be anything that's PTK related. For my chapter, we did it over the Hallmark writings. That's what we did. And also, along with the skit, you have to deliver a 1-minute recap speech. For that one, you usually just want to talk about, what we talked about is why our chapter has the qualifications to hold the position. But you can decide to use that however you'd like. And also, each chapter in Texas will vote for all 6 regional positions. And Professor Linder, even those who aren't in attendance can vote, right? And they'll be able to do it online, correct? Or no, it's only those in attendance.
No, you have to be at your chapter. Yeah, your chapter has to be at the regional convention in order to participate in the vote.
Okay.
And you will have to just kind of forward thinking. I'm just putting this out there because this seems to confuse a lot of people. You actually have to choose from your chapter a voting delegate, and that is the only person who casts the chapter's 1 vote. So it's not like every person votes. Your chapter gets 1 vote for each of those 6 positions. But your voting delegate is the only one who can actually cast that vote for your chapter.
Right.
Oh, looky there.
Oh, there we go.
Representatives for office. So excited.
So this is also something that some people misunderstand sometimes, which is not everybody from the chapter holds the position. There's a representative from the chapter that does. And in case that person needs to leave office, then usually we have somebody else from that chapter fill their spot. Of course, as a regional officer, you're expected to be active within your chapter. That's always recommended. you need to complete at least 6 credit hours in the fall and spring terms during your term of office. So that's, just to be sure, is that 6 in the fall and 6 in the spring, right? Or is it a total of
No,
6?
you can do 3 and 3. It's a total of 6.
Okay. That's one of the things that I misunderstood.
That's okay. It's worded in a way that's a little confusing, but that is one of the things I talk about in the rules meetings as well to make sure everybody understands that.
Regional officers are expected to attend PTK Catalyst and Phi Theta Kappa Academy if possible. If you don't know what PTK Academy is, it is a part of Catalyst. Last April we didn't have it, and I'm not sure if we're going to have that.
Not on the agenda this year either.
It's
thus far.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
So I don't know.
for incoming regional officers, does the region pay for their Catalyst registration or just Honors Institute?
No, the chapter is responsible for paying for Catalyst, transportation and registration to the convention itself. If there is an academy, the region will pay for academy registration.
Okay. And yeah, the next thing is International Honors Institute, and the region pays for that. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay.
Only the registration, not the travel to the event. That's the
Right.
chapter's responsibility.
Okay. Responsibilities. So of course, as regional officers, we plan our 3 conferences, and you are expected to attend those planning meetings. So we usually go a month or 2 earlier from when the event is, and we get to get a tour of the university, see the rooms, and sort of plan out where we want all of our activities to be. You're also expected to attend the actual conferences that we have, and you will be speaking at all of those as well. You will be asked to speak at inductions. Usually, VPs are asked to speak more than the president, just because they're closer to those certain districts, and the president is obviously only in one district. The regional president gets to speak at the Texas Community College Teachers Association Convention. For this year, it's on February 28th. I'm trying to get as many professors from my college to go.
Good. And I love that you said gets to instead of has to. It's an
Yes.
opportunity. That's right.
Oh, it's a great honor for sure. ROs are expected to maintain communication with their respective districts and serve as resources for their chapters. Usually that goes via email, but a lot of times, for example, I get messages through Facebook. And of course, it's very important to stay professional with all those communications. A stipend. So each officer will receive $500 travel allowance each fall and spring semester. So it's a total of $1,000. And those are just for, your travels. But it is a check, so you are allowed to spend it however you want. Of course, for traveling, make sure that you keep your receipts, because if you go over 500, the region usually reimburses you. Correct?
If it's an approved travel expense, then yes.
Okay.
No flying to like Spain.
That's it. That's it for the presentation. Professor Linder is going to go more in depth in the application. But for now, do we have any questions from our audience? No? You can write it in the
questions, right?
What's that?
I said I probably shouldn't have questions, right?
Oh. But if y'all do it anytime, just put it in the chat and we'll address it.
All right. I'm gonna take my screen back. So talking about the application process, we're cutting out a few of the forms this year just to try to streamline it a little bit. So there are 2 things that essentially that you have to fill out. The first, let me get that up here. The first is your is your honor code. Wait, do y'all see the honor code or the commitment to run? Mine are stacked. Commitment front. Okay. Mine are stacked on top of each other. So the commitment to run is going to be just some basic information, your chapter, what you're running for. It gives you some basic guidelines here about what is expected in the role. These are not all encompassing, but some of the primary responsibilities and what your chapter will be responsible for with respect to travel and costs and things like that. As you can see, your $1,000 scholarship is listed here. That's broken up into your 2 $500 stipends. And your chapter advisor has to sign off on this, as well as your college president. because your chapter and your college are making a commitment that they're going to cover your, travel to International Honors Institute and things like that, that you're taking on the responsibility of serving in this role, we do require that they sign on to the commitment to run, so that we don't have a situation where an advisor finds out, oh, we're running? I didn't know that. That would be a really bad thing to find out as an advisor. So we do require that they sign on to this. So it's a very simple one-page form, no big frills there on that one. The other one that you have to fill out is, and they're stacked again. So you see the honor code this time, right? Okay, so the honor code is the other item that you have to fill out. This is the same honor code that we have listed in our bylaws. And so you're just making this commitment to basically act right, if I'm going to sum it up, act right, act professionally. So you sign on to this. So it says officer or officer candidate. We do understand that there are some chapters, I know TJC is one of them, that when you come to convention and you campaign, you don't necessarily know who the representative is going to be, because that's decided by a vote after the chapter returns if they happen to win. So even if you don't know, you would just put in there like somebody's name, like somebody in your chapter, and you can put a notation beside it, not decided yet. That's perfectly fine. But chapter, college, you get others in your chapter to sign on to this honor code, because as Fadi said, the chapter holds the position. You will ultimately select one representative to act in that capacity, but the chapter holds the position. And so other chapter members do have to sign on to the honor code as well. And then your college president has to sign this. But that's really kind of the extent of the paperwork you have to fill out in order to run. So not a very long application by any stretch of the imagination. There's a Google form that you are going to put this into. And so the Google form is very simple as well. It's going to be chapter name, email address, and you upload these forms. And so that's going to be the extent of the application process. We do have some Zoom meetings scheduled, and there's going to be 4 Zoom rules meetings that will be held in January at different times and on different days. And that schedule will be published starting next week. And there'll be a separate Google form for that for people to sign up. For those rules meetings, it is a requirement that one member and one advisor from every chapter that's running has to attend one of those rules meetings. And so you can sign up for the day and time that best fits your schedule. But that is a requirement. We used to hold the rules meetings on site at convention, and that got to be a little complicated, because if something happened in your travel down there and you were delayed getting in and you were there by the time the rules meeting started, then technically you couldn't run for that position. You have to attend the rules meeting. And so that's why we moved this to these Zoom meetings before the convention, because it alleviates that stress of trying to get in there by a certain time to attend that meeting. So we can take care of all that beforehand. But that's really the extent of the paperwork side of it, as far as running for office. Any questions on that? That's kind of a high-level overview of those things. No questions? No questions? All right, super. Well, Fadi, I'll give it back to you then.
Awesome, thank you. So for now, we're just going to, the ROs and the pros are going to share their experiences, holding these positions. And of course, the pros are going to give their experience of what happens after that. If I'm not wrong, Isaac and George are in 4 years in 4-year institutions, correct? And okay,
George is beyond. He's in grad school.
Oh, okay, awesome. So they could talk about all the benefits that this position gave them. I'm just going to start by saying what this position has given me so far, and just some of the incentives. I just wrote down a couple bullet points in here. One of the main things that I got from this position was making sure that I focus on my strengths instead of weaknesses. Before I got this position, I was always trying to improve my weaknesses. And then I found out that is the wrong thing to do. You should focus on your strengths and improve those. So in fact, the first thing that you do when you become an RO, and I believe they're going to repeat this every year, is that you get this link for the Strengths Quest questionnaire, and you answer this 90 question questionnaire, and it tells you what your top 5 strengths are. And after that, you go to your regional officer training and you get a chance to analyze all of your strengths. And you also get to see everybody else's strengths in your leadership team. The leadership team isn't just your ROs, it's also all the advisors in the team. So that includes your district coordinators, the regional coordinator, all of those people. And there's over 20 of them. I think there's 24. And you get to see their strengths. So how you all will work together, and who you should give specific tasks to because they will complete it the best. And then seeing everybody's strengths will also help you improve yours, because maybe you can reach out to certain people and they'll help you with your own strengths. Another thing is that you get to speak at regional conferences and chapter inductions, just like we talked about on the PowerPoint. And I know that this scares a lot of people who have a fear of public speaking. But one of the things I learned in life is if you want to learn how to swim, you got to jump in the pool, right? And it's kind of ironic because I don't know how to swim and I've never jumped in a pool, but it's the metaphor that's important here. Becoming an RO is one of the best methods of getting over your fear of public speaking. At least it was the perfect method for me. Before becoming an RO, I was terrified of public speaking. I still remember at the Texas Regional Convention last March, my legs were trembling at that 1 minute speech. And even though that was a little horrifying, I still cherish that first speech that I gave, because it was my first jump in the pool, and now I know how to swim. The public speaking duty from the position shouldn't hold you back from running. If anything, it should motivate you to run, because you're going to be a better public speaker on the other side. Also, that one of the benefits of this position is that you get the chance to influence the region. So if there's something that you think is wrong in the region or needs improvement or slight adjustment,
we could do better. But we could do better.
Yeah, it's something that we could do better. You could do something about it as an RO. And then if your whole team agrees on it, then you can make it one of your goals for the region. And then you'll get the chance to share your idea with the leadership team, and they'll try their best to make your plans work. They might adjust it a little bit, but they know what works best in the region. So based off of that, you'll make certain plans for it. Also, another big thing is you'll get to travel a lot. So just like mentioned, you'll get to go to Catalyst, Honors Institute, and of course you get to go to all the regional events. And like I mentioned, you'll go a couple of months before, so you'll get to travel then as well. And if you're the regional president, again, like I said, you'll be able to go to the TCCTA conference, and you'll get to give a speech. So that's a really cool experience that I'll get to do in February. You also get to propose certain trips for your regional coordinator and associate regional coordinator. So one of the things that we did, RO team, is that we wanted to go to headquarters. And so we're going to be doing that in December. Of course, this also depends on the budget and how much time you have. But for us, we were able to do that. And then for our Texas Regional Convention planning, we'll be going to NASA since it's in Houston. Just one of the things that I want to touch on is, you might say, why should I run for a regional position when I could just be a chapter officer? Let me just say that chapter officer positions are absolutely fabulous. I was my chapter secretary for the 2017-2018 academic year, and I learned a lot of things from being a secretary. I learned organizational and time management skills. I also learned rules in my chapter, my college's hierarchy, and all the required paperwork and how that works. But while my secretary position was a great leadership learning experience, my RO position was even a steeper learning curve, if you will. My chapter officer position could not teach me how to give a keynote speech at induction, or how to work with an advisor team of over 20 people, how to plan conferences for a whole region, how to represent members in a region, how to communicate with general session keynote speakers, and more. All of the things I just mentioned, I learned from being a regional officer. I would not underestimate the opportunities a chapter officer position gives you, But no matter how big those opportunities can be, you'll get bigger opportunities from being a regional officer. It just simply opens more doors for you than you've ever seen before. And that's all I have to say about my experience from being a regional officer. Georgia, would you like to go next?
Sure. So some of the points you made are very true in my case as well. But the two things that mainly come to mind whenever I think of what this spot has done for me, or is continuously doing for me, is one, the sense of community. There, you have these people who are now like your family, and it gives you a way to relate to other college students who may not be the same as you and who have different experiences. It is all very endearing and comforting when you have these people who are also going through these same like troubles, like speaking, public speaking, or just homework or a job or whatever it may be. And the second thing is learning more about Phi Theta Kappa, because you're already in this organization, but it's hard to grasp how big it is and what it does for people. So I think those are my two things. And it was definitely so far it's been great, and I bet it'll continue being great as well.
Daniel, would you like to go next?
Of course, of course. So, like Fadi said earlier when he was talking about being shy when speaking, goes 100% for me too. One of the things I like to tell people is before Phi Theta Kappa, I was afraid to go up to people or at a restaurant, ask for extra ketchup, because I just was afraid of human interaction. But now I've gotten so much better at speaking and talking to people, and so I went from talking to just a couple people at a time to we went from talking to 500 plus people at Catalyst for the meetings. So that's definitely helped out a lot. Like Georgia said, the sense of community. When you're as D3 VP, I've gotten to go over all over the state of Texas and got to meet people that I probably never would have met before. And I just found out today, Texas is one of the most diverse states in the union, second most diverse state. And you get to meet a lot of different people from different cultures, different belief systems that I never would have met if I wasn't a part of this position. And third thing is it gives me the opportunity to serve, to give back to Phi Theta Kappa, since it's done so much for me. And so that's definitely a big part. I think that's besides the ones that you and Georgia mentioned.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. George, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. I apologize, Isaac, if I talk for too long.
I'll just mute him. That's all right.
So my name is George. I was a 2013, 2014 regional officer. I had to do some math a little couple seconds to figure that one out. But I think what I want to talk about is a perfect segue from what Daniel just said. So in serving, not only, I guess what I want to say about this is that the way that you should view this opportunity, although we're going to tell you it opens up a lot of doors for you and it has nothing but positives for you, it should be viewed as an opportunity to serve. This opportunity, this position has you working for other Phi Theta Kappa students. Like you are.
There are a few blueberries too.
Sorry, I got distracted by the.
Yeah, I don't know who's not muted. Somebody's not muted.
I think that's Beta Delta. There we
I took
go.
care of it.
All right. So you get this chance to work for others. You get this chance to plan these conferences and to think about the region critically and think about how you can improve things and how to facilitate. Because whenever we talk about these conference planning, I think a lot of the time we say it and we don't really express how much you grow from that experience. There is a lot that goes behind the scenes to ensuring a good Phi Theta Kappa conference. And going through that process is pretty ridiculous. You learn quite a bit from your regional coordinators. You learn quite a bit from the leadership team that puts these together. And it's just this really awesome opportunity to give back and to give other students opportunities to grow. You end up becoming the pinnacle of your districts and your region in general, and a lot of people look up to you, and so you end up becoming these like experts in Phi Theta Kappa, and it should be viewed as you're doing this so that you can help others grow, you know, so that you can give these opportunities at these conferences for people to get inspired, right? Because you yourself were inspired at some point from Phi Theta Kappa. And so I wanted to say, coming off of like Daniel's comment, is that, yeah, like that should be your primary reason for doing this. I think we in Phi Theta Kappa really try to push forward this notion of servant leadership. And it's so true in this position that as you are working your butt off to do these conferences and to work and to improve the region, you are doing it to help others, right? But that's where your growth comes from, you know, like that's when we say that this position is so great for you and that you get so much out of it, it's because you're doing this for other people. It's because you're thinking, how do I make this region, the strong region, stronger? How do I make these conferences more accessible? How do I provide resources, opportunities to people in my district that maybe can't go to conferences? How do I get them there? How do I inspire these students to want to do more? And so in thinking all of that, that's where you grow. That's where you end up getting your biggest growth from this opportunity. And so I just really wanted to make that like a big statement. Additionally, and I think I have to say this, like there are no negatives you get from RO. Like it's only positives, but at the same time, it's not like a handout. It's not simply that, oh, my chapter gets elected to RO, I'm the representative, and suddenly only good things will happen to me. It's not necessarily that. Like I think like any opportunity in life, it's what you make out, it's what you make of it. And so if your chapter's considering RO and you're really interested in being a representative, then you need to make the most of this opportunity. You need to serve others as much as you can. You need to find ways to focus on your strengths and to improve those, and also find ways to get out of your comfort zone and pick up new skills. I think I could talk about my experience a lot, but I think one of the most salient memories in my mind comes from a fellow RO of mine. His name is Jesus. And it was quite amazing to see his kind of transformation during his RO experience, because he was this very shy individual in the very beginning when he ran for RO. You could barely hear him even with the mic when he gave his 1 minute recap at the regional conference when we got elected. And then, you know, he ended up the year just kind of like a complete 180. He gained so much confidence from this experience. And that's something that I think everyone here can testify to, is that you gain so much confidence in yourself. And I'll touch on that a little bit later, but he gained all this confidence and it set him up for some pretty amazing things. Like he ended up deciding to run for international office and, you know, delivered his speech, you know, to, I don't even know, 4,000 people in attendance. Like, it's just this crazy transformation. It really is. And like I said, it's about what you make of it. It really, all the doors are there, and it's just about which ones you decide to open and which ones you decide to commit yourself to. I mean, I'll be frank with you. I had to be convinced to be an RO. I was not seeking it. I didn't think I wanted it. I really didn't know what it was, honestly. And so several people had to convince me that this was an opportunity worth taking. And this required me to essentially stay an extra year in community college, which is something I really didn't want to do at the time. I was kind of had this weird sense of I'm behind and I need to graduate in a certain amount of years. And if I don't, then I'm somehow failing. And so it took a while, but once I committed to this position, I was like, look, I'm staying an extra year, and that means I have to make the most of it that I can. So I took every opportunity to do so. And kind of just to, I think I'm going to summarize so that now Isaac can talk, but if you have questions, please feel free to ask. So in summary, you have to make the most of this opportunity if you're going to do it. It's not going to be easy. It's tough. I mean, if you're at community college, you are taking several classes, you're wanting to do your best for your transfer, you're applying to scholarships, you are probably working as well, you have family obligations, etc. this is going to take a fair amount of your time. Like, it is something that will require a lot of your effort. And so you have to want to do that, right? You have to want to serve others, and in doing so, improving yourself. So that's that. And then additionally, yes, like, I'm not the only example out there, and there's several of these examples, but Phi Theta Kappa really did open up a lot of doors for me, including this position, running for RO. I think this was kind of like a changing point in my life. Before RO, I was very focused on just getting good grades, paying for college, and then just kind of, that was it, really. I wasn't really part of any organizations. I was just kind of like, if I get good grades and if I can pay for college, then things will be okay and I'll be fine. And I didn't know what I was missing, really. I didn't have an opportunity to think about other skills and other opportunities that made me a more competitive person, I guess I would say, because of RO, because of the public speaking, because of the teamwork, the troubleshooting at conference, which I can't tell you enough how much of a life skill that is. Your professional correspondence, your networking, all of this, like, this opened up a million doors for me. I got an internship opportunity in DC because of my RO work, simply because I knew how to plan events and how to troubleshoot and how to speak in front of people like that. That was a big reason why I got an internship. It made me confident enough for my scholarship applications. I am a Jack Kent Cooke Foundation scholar. And it made me confident enough to apply for grad school, honestly. I think these things, I think doing something like an RO position helps you to identify opportunities. And ever since my year as an RO, I've been doing that. I've been taking opportunities, been making the most of them. And it really, I mean, it has, like, in more than just indirect ways, but in very direct ways, being an RO has led me to where I am now. And what I am doing now, just so you know, is I am a second year in my PhD program at Georgetown University studying neuroscience. And it is completely paid for, by the way. I have 5 years full funding as a direct consequence of, like, going through this process and becoming more confident in myself and doing all of that. And I could talk forever. So I'm just going to, like, leave it there. If you have questions, feel free. I'll let Isaac take it. I apologize, Isaac.
What are you apologizing for? That was amazing. What do you mean? But it's kind of hard for me to describe all of this because I was a regional officer, I think, 3 years ago.
15, 16.
Yes. Okay. I've slept since then. I apologize. But I think the best way for me to talk about it is before I got the position, during, and after. Before I got the position, I was the same way like George. They had to talk me into it because I was just basically going to go for chapter president. I was like, I'm chapter president. I can deal with that. And they said, no, you should run because, like, you should be a good fit for it. I was like, I don't want to do this. I have not spoken in front of 500 people. And that part necessarily didn't scare me. I was just scared that I was going to fail. And I would say that it would be, if you're thinking about doing it, do it. It's never too late to fail. No, I'm sorry. It's been a long day. I'm not making any sense, but this position overall has taught me never be scared to fail. And whatever idea that you have is not a stupid idea. And whenever I ran for regional officer, and whenever I gave my 1 minute recap, in that split second, I kind of knew that I could do this. I was like, this is actually pretty cool, and I would love to have this position. And then when I had the position, I cannot tell you the countless nights that we met, that we planned events, that on the fly, like George said, changes on the fly. Oh my gosh, let's not talk about that because my regional convention will go down as one of the craziest ones of all time. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to big that up, but I'm being serious. Like, my convention was the ghost speaker walked out 15 minutes after he started. I was just like, and that was my session too. I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but somehow got it through. And was made it like nothing ever happened. We just we had technical issues. Let's just say that.
Moved on with life. That's right.
But what really the most part I want to talk about is like after. It's like since I've been at Texas A&M, which is a huge university, huge. Having an RO position allowed me to not be scared of being around people and just speaking up and just basically just going for it. Because I think that if I didn't have the RO position, I wouldn't be here. Because how I view right now and the point in my life is the 2.5 years I've been at Texas A&M have been the funnest. Don't get me wrong, I've had plenty of fun here. But the most important 2 years of my life have been at a community college, and it has been being an RO, and it has been meeting all the different people I met in Phi Theta Kappa. Like I don't know what to say about that. Like this position has offered me so much, and even reflecting on it and still being able to help out with the ROs and with the region and everything is still paying dividends to this day. So, but I would say my advice to anybody running is go for it. Like you have nothing to lose at all, nothing to lose at all. And that's my 2 cents, even though George basically took the words out of my mouth.
Thank you.
See, they should have just put me last.
It happens sometimes. It is what it is, man.
So I would like to add something in here. First of all, I'm going to not be offended that none of you said that one of the awesome things of the position is working with me. So, I'll just keep that. No, I'll say from kind of taking off my regional coordinator hat for a second and talking from a chapter advisor perspective. And George has been a chapter advisor, and I think he would echo this. It's quite amazing to see how a chapter's relationship, all the members of the chapter, how that can change through simply running for the position. Because not everybody who runs is going to win. That's true. But there is so much value in simply running, because you get that opportunity to come together with your chapter members, and you have the fun of making these really hysterical skits. And I agree with Fadi. We really encourage the skits over the speeches because they're so much fun. But there's just a lot of camaraderie, fellowship that comes from that. And then putting all that together, the campaign process itself, you grow so much closer. And I think you really can't put a price tag on those relationships. You get closer with your other members, you get closer with your advisors, and that's gonna help you. You're gonna have that support system beyond the community college, and you have that whether you win or lose. And so I think that is really quite remarkable about this process as well. I love that we run as chapters, because it forces the chapters to come together, and then you see that relationship develop, and it's really a quite beautiful thing. And I enjoy it. That's one of my favorite things to do is when my chapter has run, is to be like, come together. Okay, now what skits? And some of the ideas, no. Then when they come upon the really good one, it's hysterical and it's so much fun. And like, we were just looking at old videos of previous skits for our chapter not too long ago. And the memories come pouring back. And so and what I think about is not just the funny skit. I think about everything that happened in putting that together, and the relationships are what are so meaningful. And so I think that's something that chapters should remember as well, and appreciate and want to run just for that experience.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So what I want to say is, yes, like, I think for me personally, I think for quite a bit of people, and I think it's something that current ROs can't say yet, but it's that in this position is where, like, I solidified my support system from Phi Theta Kappa. And that is something very personal that happened for me. Like, I still, to this day, am friends with my RO team. I am still in connection with a lot of my mentors, a lot of advisors and such from Phi Theta Kappa. In fact, I still send them drafts of my work to proofread or to give me comments on. Like, this opportunity is something that really solidified a very important support system for me for for the rest of my life, really. And that is something that you can't really put a value on. That is something that gets you through tough times, right? That gets you through tough applications, that gets you through wins and losses, right? Because it's not like everything I've ever applied for in my life I've just won, like there's plenty of like successes and failures as you go on. And so I want to reiterate that this is something where you can get a support system like that from. But I will say there's a caveat, like it's not, I mean, you may not be the representative for your chapter, or your chapter may not win, right? And that doesn't mean that these kinds of things you can't get out of this experience from Phi Theta Kappa. Like I said before, and I will always say, it's every opportunity is what you make of it. And so if you're a chapter officer, if you're a really engaged chapter member, right? If you're a representative for RO, or someone from your chapter is the RO representative and you're not, like, it doesn't matter which where you are, like you can make the connections, you can solidify the support system, you can gain a lot of leadership experience. I mean, you can get a lot from just being in Phi Theta Kappa in general. Like there's several people who are in positions that I am now, several people who won the Jack King Cook scholarship and other big scholarships who weren't ROs. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't want to make it seem like this is the only way to improve or the only way to get things. But if you're interested at all, which I assume you are if you're sitting here, is that it is something worth doing, absolutely worth doing. And there's just so many things that that are outside of like the general list of these are the things that this can do for you, that I think only someone who has gone through the position can tell you. And one of those biggest things is the connection. It is the people. And I think that's it.
I just have something to add to the Professor Linder, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I completely forgot to talk about the running process, but that is one of the biggest advantages of this position. I remember whenever we were running, I had my chapter members come on like Sundays to school to write the skit, to write the speech, and practice everything. And looking back, that's why they're one of my best friends when I look back at that, especially because those are the people who, or at least most of them, stayed until now. So they stayed another year with PTK or at the community college. And so I get to work on college project with them. I get to work on honors in action with them. And then if they decide to run for regional office, I guess I'll sort of guide them through that as well. But it doesn't just help you to make those connections, but it also help you with the next year, because you'll learn how to work better with your team for a whole nother year. And of course, they're lifelong friends, and that goes with all Phi Theta Kappas, not just the ones in your chapter. That's all I have to say.
Nice. Any others? Any questions? No questions. This is just like class.
Yeah, I'm shocked there's no question.
Same.
Like nothing? Woohoo, we're experts. No questions. We got it all.
When will the application be posted, Professor Linder, on the website?
Oh, so I can't give you an exact date because we don't manage our own website. I'm sending the information to headquarters today. And so my hope is early next week. My plan, though, because I have the links and everything, I mean, because it's all going to be through Google Forms and things like that, I'm going to send out a newsletter to advisors with that information. So they will already have it, but it will go live on the website as soon as headquarters can get that up for us. And I will post it on the regional Facebook page as soon as all that's on the website. The deadline for the application will be February 15th, 2019. And you know how hard it was to write 2019? Because there's some scribbles on this paper that I wrote it down on. Scribble. Yeah.
I was writing a date for my quiz a couple days ago, and I was writing 2019 for some reason. But
wow. He's jumping ahead.
Yeah, I'm going ahead.
Yeah, so February 15th, 2019, enough time for us to get everything ready for convention because it'll be like 3 weeks after that. But I wanted to make sure it was after hallmarks, right? Because we want hallmarks all behind us before we have to worry about that. And just for kind of FYI, the deadline for IO application is January 13th. So we're in that same week. I'm sorry, February 13th. So we're in that same week that they're due. And I just point that out in case you have others from your chapter who may be considering IO. Those applications for IO and RO will be due the same week. But ours is not very long. The IO application is a little bit longer than the RO one is. Just 2 forms for us, and mostly just signatures. That's quite awesome. No essays or anything. I don't want to read them. I have to read enough for classes. And I will have just survived hallmarks. I don't want to read more. Right? I don't think y'all want to write more after going through hallmarks. No. All right. Any other questions?
Just a little side note, I guess, for the record, since this is recorded. For your 1 minute speech and your 3 minute skit, those are hard times. So they'll stop. They'll put their hands on the mic, or I don't know if they'll turn it off, but make sure that it's a minute, if not less, for your speech, and then less than 3 minutes for your skit.
Yeah. Your rehearsing is very important there. I was going to say your rehearsing is very important there to make sure your time is consistent.
Mm-hmm. And can I add on something to that?
Sure.
Coming from somebody who's an alumni who's run from the ran for the position, my advice would be for anybody who's running with the skit, just make it as fun as possible, and encourage to do a skit, because skits are funny. I love a laugh. If you can make me laugh, you're doing good. But with the campaign speech, I would say if you give it a minute, try to tailor it to around 45 to 50 seconds. Because you never know when you get up there, you may stumble a couple of words, and you time yourself to be a minute exactly. You may end up having the mic cut out on you, and I never want to see anybody, or like I wouldn't want your chapter to remember like, oh, your chapter's speech got cut out the very last second. That would be my advice to you, because like Fadi said, the timing is hard.
Yep. I think it's the most challenging thing. But yes, have fun with the skits. They have to be about something Phi Theta Kappa related, but they're not any more prescriptive than that. So, if you want to do about hallmarks, or if you want to do about any of our programming, or reflect a chapter meeting like ours, we did a game show about Phi Theta Kappa one year, right? So you can do some fun things with it. But yeah, have fun. You'll have fun, and if you're having fun, your audience is going to have a great time as well. And that's how people remember, because I'll guarantee you, when I watch my chapter caucus, it's always like, oh yeah, that was the chapter that did the skit on. That's how they remember it, is the funny. So yes, you can do a 3 minute speech. Absolutely, it's within the rules. I just personally think you get a better reception from your audience with the skit.
I just have a tip, I guess, that I want to share for those who will be the representatives and giving the 1 minute speech. If it's your first time giving a speech in front of a big crowd, I would recommend, just like Isaac said, trying to make it around 50 seconds and take your time when you're up there, because your adrenaline is going to be kicking in and you're just going to fly through it. So it's going to be very counterintuitive to try to just slow yourself down, take a couple breaths throughout the speech, and try to, if you time it for 50 seconds and you take your time, you will probably be less than a minute. But definitely the adrenaline, you're just going to feel it. But right after you get through that, everything else will be a lot easier. Mm-hmm. So it's that first time it's the scariest. And then after that, you begin to embrace it, and it becomes fun. You want to take the mic from people. That's what's going to happen after that.
Yeah, we have to tell Fadi, get away. Anything else? Okay. We will have this put on the regional website. If you go to txptk.org, there's a webinars tab. And so the 2 previous Zoom to Success meetings are recorded and put up there. And this will also be put up there so that you can go back and watch it again, or share it with others. And we also will share it on our social media as well. But thank you so much for participating, for joining us today. Share with your chapter members, and please do give serious consideration to running for regional office. It's an amazing experience. We want to see all of our races be competitive. You know, I joked before we started recording that I wanted 60 chapters running for regional office. I would be okay with that. I would love that. I will figure out how to make it happen. I can make the campaign stuff work for 60 chapters. You bring me the 60 chapters, we can make it work. That's part of that troubleshooting we do. But I would love it, quite honestly. And if you have any questions at all, feel free. You can reach out to me at any time. And obviously, any of your ROs are happy to help clarify things. And if you want connections to former ROs to try to ask them more questions, we're happy to provide that as well, because I know that our former ROs are happy to provide any insight and encouragement as well. So I want to thank our guests for joining us today. Thank for all of our people who attended, but certainly want to thank Isaac and George for giving us wonderful insight into their experience and post-regional officer life as well. And thank you to our current ROs for being here and sharing this. And everybody have a great day.